Hello! This is another episode in my Tournament Hero Guide series. The hero of this episode is Annie, the coin hero. But before we go into it, I have a public announcement to make. There is a War of Omens contest right now. Winners and runner-ups will receive some stuff. You can find this announcement in the news and announcements channel in War of Omens Discord, linked in the description below. Go and participate now, everyone. Now let's begin the episode. Annie is a strange tournament hero. The hardest thing about her isn't about drafting, but rather playing. That's because, unlike any other tournament hero, each single click, including coin click, matters when playing her. I spend disproportionately longer time each turn when playing her compared to other heroes for this very reason. I don't think she's a great choice for new players, but at least she's still a bit easier than some other heroes. But first, let's talk about her ability. The first part is you start with 10 epic coins. This means instead of 10 normal coins, as is the case for other tournament heroes, you have 10 epic coins instead. It doesn't mean you actually start with 10 coins in your hand though, that would just be silly. If this doesn't seem to be so good to you, you're right, it isn't, which is why she also has a second part in her ability. The text reads, Epic coins have 3 chances to activate. This is a bit confusing and downright misleading if you don't really know how it works under the hood. Have no fear though, because I'm here to explain it to you. All epic coins have a proc chance. Normally, the game only checks once when you play it, but on Annie, the game will check up to 3 times. This effectively means coins have triple chance to activate. I'm aware that it is mathematically incorrect, but for simplicity's sake, we can keep looking at it that way. This means, though, that Annie's ability is more correctly phrased as epic coins have 2 more chances to activate, but that's pretty long for an ability description. This may not sound important, but it is because of Lackey. But before we talk about Lackey, I want to have a quick breakdown of all Annie's coins. The first are great coins. They are great because they are always useful to proc, no matter what deck you have. Cross Empower is a bit debatable because it's only 100% useful if you have a foot sink, but even then, you still have a pretty high chance to gain other resources, so I put it here. Sex is occasionally bad against Vex, but other than that, it's a great coin. These are good coins, but not as impactful as the previous ones. Oboe is a mixed bag. If you have FootSync, it's great, but if you don't, it's pretty useless. So I decided to put it in this category, neither great nor bad. And finally, these are the bad coins on Annie. You simply don't get much value if any of them procs. I know Frank is a new coin and it may see some changes in the near future, but I highly doubt it would change its impact with regards to Annie. As you can see, her great and good coin pool are much larger than her bad ones, so things are looking pretty good for her. The reason I'm not going into details about all the coins is because it would be meaningless anyway, since you don't get to choose which coins you play with Annie. It's totally random. You could have all good coins or all bad ones, which is why I should stress that when you draft with Annie, never ever draft a deck that hinges on her certain coins for the synergy. The most obvious one is Serpent Seal. I've seen people do this, and I have to say, it's almost always a bad idea. When you draft with Annie, consider her coin procs to be some bonuses on top of your already good deck. Here's a simple rule of thumb when drafting with Annie. Assume you will always get 10 bad coins, even though it's highly unlikely. But if your deck could do well at its worst, then it certainly will be successful at its best or even mediocrity. Now let's talk about Lucky. Remember when I said Annie's second ability is better understood as coins having 2 more chances to proc? It's the same for Lucky. With each Lucky, your coins have 2 more chances to proc, and not 3, as you would have initially thought by reading her ability. There is a unique and important interaction to note here, though, that each Lackey will proc your coins individually, which means that if you play a coin and you have a Lackey, it's possible to proc the same coin twice, rather than simply increasing the number of times its proc chance is checked by the game. Lackey is an auto pick on Annie, even if you don't have protection, because most of the time it will proc at least one of your coins, which means it's already paid for itself. I have a tip for you when playing with Annie and you have Lucky in your bank but have no way to protect it. Don't just randomly buy it whenever. Wait until you have three or more good coins in your hand, then buy Lucky before playing them so you get the procs on the coins that you want to proc. Let's talk about some other good cards on Annie. The first is Shrine of Rebirth. This is another auto pick on Annie. Normally, it's only really useful for saving cards, but on Annie, it's incredibly useful for saving coins because of her ability. A board of nothing but lackeys and shrines is often enough of a win condition on its own on Annie. The next are Vest cards. These cards are good on Annie, not because of any inherent synergy with her, but rather the fact that you always get to play her coins when playing them makes them good. Cards that don't prevent you from playing your coins in general are equally good, but Vest cards, especially cycle ones, are typically better because they have better synergy with Shrine of Rebirth, which is something you always pick when it shows up. As for Vest allies, cheap and good food sinks are the best because sometimes you may get Obo or Cross Empower, which could give you food. Having a way to spend food other than healing yourself is very useful. As for good decks on Annie, there is no special strategy to go for when drafting with Annie. All you do is literally pick good cards that don't clog your draws and build the rest of your deck to synergize with those cards, while also avoiding clogging your draws as much as possible. For example, if you have Shrine of Rebirth and or some Vest Cycle cards, Rights would be great additions to your deck. Here is an example of this kind of deck I played on Annie and went 8-0 with. If you have Lucky and some other allies that need protection, walls that are either tanky or don't clog your draws are the best. Here is an example of a Lucky deck I had on Annie, which also went 8-0. As I said before, the difficult part about Annie is not drafting, but rather playing, and I can't stress enough how important it is to take your time when playing her. Every single coin click matters, and you should spend some time thinking about the order of coins you click. Don't worry about wasting your opponent's time or something like that. If they don't like it, they could always just quit. Next, I will show you a recent draft I had on Annie with commentary. Here in this first pack, I don't really have a choice. Informant is the only somewhat useful card. Next, I have some OK cards. Go Panners is an acceptable foot sink, but it could clog my draws, so I don't want it. Yarakin doesn't clog my draws, but I have to hold it, and it's quite slow as well, and it's also quite expensive, so I don't want it either. Benediction is a good card, but I need more allies for it to be really useful, and I just don't really want to force my hands this early into the draft. So I decided to go with Dance, even though it could clog my draws in a sense, and it's quite expensive as well, but it's a very good versatile card, and it's a great scaling card as well. Next, all of these cards are very good, but I don't like Putis on Annie because it could clog my draws, even though it could still work on Annie, and I actually also had some 8-0 runs with Putis on Annie. Feast is a very good card if I have a lot of allies, but similarly to Benediction, I don't want to force my hands, so I don't go with it. Both Deceit and Misinfo are great cards. I like them both. But I think I might need some extra econ to support dance, so I go with deceit. This is a very tough choice to make. Both Shrine and Lucky are auto picks on Annie, but I have dance, and Shrine is just a much better target for dance than Lucky, so I have to go with Shrine here. I'm very sorry, Lucky. I love you, but maybe next time. Here we have Courtesan, which is a very good best ally and a footing, so that's what I go with. And Lucky almost immediately shows up again. Of course, this time I have to pick it. As you can see, if you show your love to a card, even though you don't pick it, it will respond to your love by asking God to be with you. So remember, always believe in the heart of the cards. Next, we have Holy Wrath and Shepherd's Gift. Wrath is an okay vest card, but I don't really have a lot of magic generation at this point, even though it's a very good target for dance. Gift, on the other hand, is pretty cheap, even though it's kinda slow, and sometimes it gives me food, but I already have Courtesan for a food sink, so I don't really mind it. Next, we have Outrider as a wall to protect my allies, all of which need some protection. But I really hate Outrider as a wall because it's it's quite expensive. It's so janky and it could clog my draws, which is something I don't want on Annie. Lucky doesn't really need protection, as I said before, even though it's better with protection than without. Courtesan does need protection to be 100% effective, but in the worst case scenario, I could simply leave it in my bank and wait until I have a lot of food. Then I will buy it and dump all of my food into it. Informant, well, it needs protection and it doesn't really do anything without protection. But I don't think by buying going with a war like Outrider for just one card is worth it. So I go with Infighting, which gives me some control and a very good card in general. Next, we have three vest cards, which are all good. Rampart is not a great war, but at least it's not bad. But as I said before, neither Lucky nor Courtesan really need protection, and if I have to go with this to protect informants, I don't think it's worth it. Trade Company is a good card, and I already have Courtesan as a foot sink, but if I go with it, then I really need Courtesan for it to be any useful to me, which may lead to some consistency issue. So I decided to go with Tribute, which is quite expensive, but I might have enough econ support for it with Deceit and Shrine of Rebirth. And Tribute is one of the best targets for dance. I think it's a little bit greedy as a pick, but I think it's worth it. And finally, we have three vest cards. Surf is not a war. I'm not gonna discuss it. Malediction is okay, but it's quite expensive as well. And since I already have Tribute, I don't really want another expensive card in my deck. So I go with Prayer, which is a very good card. And that's the end of my draft. My final verdict on Annie is she's a good hero, but not highly recommended for new players because even though drafting with her is pretty easy and straightforward, playing with her takes some experience to really understand how to handle her coins. Thank you for listening. With the contest going on, I will put more effort into making new content. I hope that it will not have a negative impact on the quality. If it does, or if the quality is already terrible, please let me know. Other than the audio, of course, I already know it's pretty awful. If you've made some of your own content, please also let me know. I can't wait to see it. Goodbye and see you soon.